You are listening to the Two and Out CFL podcast, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
Grab some poutine and a double-double. It's time for the Two and Out CFL podcast.
He's got it! Oh, baby!
Every week, Travis Currah.
That's Grey Cup me, which is a different person.
And Brazilian Ty.
Hunters are people too.
Talk fantasy football, bring you the latest in CFL news, and sprinkle in a little bit of nonsense.
Oh, nearly intercepted, and it's over!
Ready, set, hunt!
And we are part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. It's Travis Currah and Brazilian Ty. Look at that stash.
Yeah, like it's a true, like I feel like there's more than two hosts now. Considering that this thing has its own Twitter account now.
You know, there's a moment in a guy's life where he kind of finds his look.
Oh, I was going to say where he makes it.
And that is the look that he sticks with for time.
I've had the same haircut for 10 years.
See, and now the facial hair, I think you've completed your look and you can't change it. It's just, it's you now.
But let's be honest, there's one reason I would ever shave this thing off, as if I was told to by a girlfriend or something. But it would have to be like I was going to get cut off. But other than that,
I was going to say, I'm shocked that you're admitting that right now.
well, it depends on the girlfriend.
Oh. This episode of Two and Out is brought to you by Park Power, your friendly local utilities provider in Alberta, offering internet, electricity, and natural gas with low rates, awesome service, and profit sharing with local charities. In Alberta, you get to choose who to buy your internet, electricity, and natural gas from. So if you choose Park Power, you're choosing a positive local business. Plus, Park Power shares its profits with local not-for-profits that are working to make a difference for their communities. Shopping local is very important to Park Power's owner, Chris Kozowski, and we love local here at the Alberta Podcast Network, so it's a great fit. You can learn more at parkpower.ca. Just wrapped up week 17 of the CFL season. It is flying by, and it started Friday night. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers beating the Saskatchewan Roughriders 31-13, and there were times in this game where the Riders were keeping it close. The Bombers did have a 17-3 lead at half, and then the Riders scored a touchdown in the third quarter, and then they scored the field goal to come within 4, and then it was Bombers the rest of the way. It was kind of like they were just playing possum a little bit with the Riders.
Yeah, just some rope-a-dope, right? Like when Ali fought Foreman, and he just let him beat the piss out of him, and then just let him tire himself out. Dredrick Tatum and Homer Simpson. It was just, you knew what was going to happen in that fourth quarter. We had talked about it in the group chat that the Bombers were going to win this game. Like there was nothing that the Riders could do, especially when it gets to that fourth quarter. And figuratively and literally, they pulled away. Like Dalton Schoen pulling away from the defensive backfield, Nick Dembski finding space in the defensive backfield. Like it just blew up the fourth quarter.
Dan Clark making his return to the offensive line for the Rough Riders. So Cody Fajardo was not sacked once in this game.
Neither was Zach Collaros.
Yeah. So, and that's been, I guess, par for the course for the Rider D-line, who has not been able to pressure the quarterback. But
since
I know. I'm trying to let it go.
I honestly don't think that's the issue, but it's just funny that I think it's more of a correlation than causation.
But
like a coincidence than because of that.
The incident, the Riders are 2-8, the worst team in the CFL. They started 4-1 and have just crumbled the rest of the way. And yeah, the schedule's tough, but you got to beat the good teams if you're going to win the Grey Cup anyway.
Yeah, you're in a tough division. You have a tough schedule. Well, what do you think is going to happen come playoffs? You have to beat those teams to get there. You're going to have to beat a good team in the Grey Cup. Like, if you can't beat them in the regular season, you can't be using that as it was too tough. Well, then you weren't going to win anyway.
That being said,
and like I said all season, his team was a fraud.
They were without
so
Frankie Hickson, without Jamal Morrow, and Keenan LaFrance only got 6 carries, 24 yards. So they couldn't really run the ball. They didn't really commit to running the ball. They turned the ball over on downs. They blew 2 3rd and 1s. There was a lot of opportunities for the Rough Rider offense to make things happen, but turning it over on 3rd down, a turnover on a dropped snap, I think it was, from Cody Fajardo, deep in Winnipeg's end. And there you go. The Bomber offense turns it on. It seems like, okay, we'll try now and do a 2-play 56-yard drive. Oh, it was a 64-yard drive, I should say. Oh, yeah. One of those plays was incomplete. So it was basically a 1-play 64-yard touchdown to Dalton Schoen.
Okay. I'm convinced we're pronouncing his last name wrong.
Schoen?
Yeah, because it was Kenny Plain. Why can't this guy's last name be Shane?
True. Could be Shane. Yeah, you never know. Ty, any guesses on the last Rough Rider quarterback to throw a regular season touchdown pass in Winnipeg?
Darian?
No, it's more recent than that.
Oh man.
I'd give you a hint, but it's way too easy.
Yeah,
he's played for all 9 teams, or had his rights.
Okay, that's not who I was thinking then. Yeah, Kevin Glenn.
It's Kevin Glenn. Who,
that's embarrassing.
Hit Naaman Roosevelt September 9th of 2017. The last touchdown pass the Riders threw in Winnipeg.
That can't be right.
That is right. It's been a dry spell. The likes that only a Brazilian Thai would know.
Whoa, friendly fire. I saw where that was going.
I had to take it. But yeah, there you go. Dalton Schoen, 125 yards on 4 catches. The Bomber offense didn't need to do much, but I think we can anoint Nick Dembski, the Rider killer. 5 catches, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. It seems like every time they're playing Saskatchewan, they forget about Dembski. I don't know what's going on there, but it seems to happen.
And so they let him walk, and everybody seemed okay with it.
I think Dembski was going to go back to Winnipeg.
Going to go anyway.
Yeah,
but they utilize him.
Yeah.
He gets the ball where he wasn't getting these opportunities in Regina as much.
Mm-hmm.
People can be upset and everything, but it's like, you look at Jacksonville right now, and Urban Meyer has to be kicking himself and like, oh, if I actually use these players properly, like Doug Peterson is, these guys can be good. Well, it's the same thing with Nick Dembski.
Zach Collaros only needed to complete 14 passes.
To 4 receivers, 4 pass catchers.
And 4 of them were touchdowns. 296 yards. Yeah.
Can we just do the Grey Cup preview show right now?
I know. Well, after Toronto's showing in Calgary, I don't know who's going to be playing Winnipeg. we got to figure that out. 26 of 38 for 307 yards and an interception for Cody Fajardo. They did get Mason Fine in for the last 2 minutes or something. He went
5 attempts for 1 completion.
Oh, it says he's 4 for 5, 25 yards.
No, I was thinking of another one.
And an interception, but
I was thinking of Chad Kelly.
There you go. It's just the Riders, they couldn't. Well, and it's just the fourth quarter. They had all the opportunities. They couldn't finish drives. Without a running back that they were confident in, it just seems like they weren't going to be able to really do anything.
No, and I've obviously jumped on the bandwagon early this year instead of waiting for playoffs.
I mean, they had less penalties than the Bombers, which is actually quite the change.
But now it's off-field discipline we got to worry about. If it's not one thing, it's the other.
Yeah. Quite the change there. And the teams that the Riders have been competing with to get the last playoff spot haven't really been able to close in on them. That, like...
And the fact that this team might get rewarded for this futility is hilarious.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
Dickinson has to go Bull Durham on this team at some point.
What's he gonna do?
Yell at them all, get them all in the shower, throw the baseball bats at them, and then ask Jason Moss, what's our record? 8-16. How would we ever win 8? Like, I know it's 6 and whatever, but that's not the quote.
6 and 9.
Like, nice. Like, it's been, and I said it early, and I brought it up once already, but like, this team just didn't show me anything that showed that what they at 4-1 that it was sustainable. It was like they were winning games, but it wasn't comfortable. It wasn't like they were winning them. It was more like the other team was losing them. It was a mess, and then it just snowballed. And then you have the off-field stuff, and then, well, the on-field stuff with Marino to start, and then you have the off-field stuff with Dalgala. It's just been a year of distractions. And if this team's they're not making the Grey Cup. I think we know that, even if they do get that crossover. But it's just been an absolute disaster. And it's a year that they host Grey Cup. Like, this isn't going to sit well with season ticket holders who already feel like they don't get appreciated enough, and then to have a season like this when you host, it's going to piss off a lot of people.
I really hope Rider Nation comes out for the Grey Cup and puts on a good show, though.
They'll be at the parties.
And I'm trying to look. I was a young fella in '95 and in 2003. And I don't know if there was the same expectations around the team. And then, 2013 happens and you're expecting, the Riders are going to be in the big game.
And we all knew what it was. We all knew we'd sold the farm.
Yeah.
And we were totally okay with it.
Yeah. But before that, I don't think there was really, I think we're just hosting the Grey Cup. That's awesome. It doesn't matter if our team's in it or not.
Yeah. We'll win 6 games and, we'll break even on the year because we'll make money off the festival, and CFL and CBC will kick off in July again.
And we'll show Canada some Saskatchewan hospitality, and why this is one of the maybe the heartland of the CFL on the prairies. And now I just don't feel like there's that attitude. It's
I think people are pissed.
Well, and I get it. The new stadium where there really has only been the one playoff win. Every year there has been a playoff game there. Finally getting the win in overtime over Calgary last year, and then losing a West final where they forced all those turnovers against Winnipeg and weren't able to capitalize. So now things are, I don't know, maybe it looks like there's going to be some changes in the offseason.
And it doesn't help your biggest rival geographically, I guess. I mean, for years, Winnipeg didn't matter to Saskatchewan at all. It was always Calgary. But
Winnipeg was in the East until Ottawa came back.
Right. But you look at it, Winnipeg's winning Grey Cups. They're winning Labor Day. They're winning Banjo Bowls. They're coming in and beating you soundly.
Handily, yeah.
Right? That you're going, you don't have a shot when you go there. Like, it's just an extra kick in the nuts.
So there you go. The Bombers are 13-2. But I feel like if they would have played a better offense here, it would have been maybe a tougher sled for the come in and win this one against Saskatchewan. But just an offense that can't take advantage of opportunities, and that was the story of it. That's the bottom line.
That's been the story of Jason Moss's offense all year.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, I don't even think we need to open that bag.
Hey, I was at the Elks and Alouettes game over the weekend, and I'm getting mocked by
as you should, because of what you're probably wearing.
Because they were saying, "Oh, Moss is going to be your next coach." Rider fans would not accept that.
No. Would they take Lapo?
I think they would. But
forgive and forget.
But is Lapo head coach material?
That's the other thing. Like,
Or
you
is he...
look at Josh McDaniel in the NFL. Bill Belichick coaching tree as a head coach. Right? Some guys just can't do it.
Speaking of Lapo, the Red Blacks go to BC, lose 34-19 there, and then the next day it is announced that Paul LaPolice is relieved of his duties as head coach of the Ottawa Red Blacks. His
I jumped the gun a bit.
His 28 games, 6-22 record. Is that 0 wins at home? It's another one of those.
Chris Jones.
Another one of those situations where they're trying to probably preserve a season ticket base and trying to get some people to renew going into next season. I get it, but it seemed like the Red Blacks had some life when Nick Arbuckle took the reins at quarterback, and then those 2 losses against Toronto, and then this, and I get it, Toronto they're a solid team. They're first in the East as of this moment, and then the showing in BC where the offense just can't get anything done. And I don't know if it's him struggling with the dual duties, but at the end of the day, the defense is a decent unit. The special teams in Ottawa is a decent unit. And the offense is where they were failing just game after game after game. And that it falls on Lapo.
At some point, somebody's going to take the blame. They're not going to cut Masoli.
Yeah.
Right. And him getting hurt. I don't know how much that changes things, really. Like, I mean, they were 0-for with him. Or did they have 1 win before he got hurt? Like,
yeah.
I mean, so you lose. So then you think you get that grace period. You think this is kind of like that lost season due to injury, that Lapo is going to get that break. And, things just seem to compound throughout the year. And then, like you said, those 2 losses to Toronto, that's demoralizing. Their division opponents, that's games that if you can win, you can stay in the hunt kind of thing. And you just get not throttled, but I mean, you got to hope for at least a split. If I'm OSEG, I'm kind of looking at it and be like, well, yeah, you can fire him. I would have waited for the off season to start when there's all the buzz around the Senators this year. I'm serious. There's a lot of buzz around the Sens. Why not do it then? And it's not even a story in Ottawa.
I think there was.
Or do they want it to be a story so that like you said, the season ticket holders know?
Well, and Ottawa fans are angry, and from the displays they've seen from the offense, and at times it just looked like just giving up. And some of the decisions about who's going to be in quarterback or who's going to be in for too long before being brought out, I get it, and he's a great guy, but it just was not working in Ottawa, so they had to make the change. So as of this moment, Bob Dice is the interim head coach in Ottawa. I guess they're having a media conference the day that we're releasing this, so they're going to announce who's going to be making the offensive play calls and things like that. Bob Dice did take over in Saskatchewan when Corey Chamberlain was fired, and he took over on an interim basis there, and it seems like the players love him. He's a special teams guy, and they've got a great unit. So, I mean, I don't know what it'll do for them for the rest of the season.
Dead cat bounce. Like, it doesn't get them anywhere, but
to make fans show that they're committed to making some sort of changes there, and they're committed to improving the program in Ottawa, one where they were contending for that East and a spot in the Grey Cup every year once they first started. Kind of a spoiled fan base.
Kind of like the Vegas Golden Knights.
The CFL. Yeah, basically. Right? And they had Henry Burris, so that didn't hurt.
Wow, he turned so many franchises around. So let's say that Bob Dice goes back to his role as a coordinator at the end of the season. Like, who's out there? I'm trying to think of head coaches.
It's going to be really interesting. I would like to say that we're going to see some new faces, but I don't know.
That's not how football works.
No, it's not how the CFL works either.
No.
But Sean Burke's going to And I know Lapo mentioned it that in his statement that he posted on social media that Sean's been great to work with and things like that. But Burke's now going to be able to actually choose somebody and somebody that he's got confidence and somebody he has connections with. So we'll see what choices he makes. I feel like there's a lot of faces. No, I'm not going to say Moss if that's what you're thinking.
No, I was thinking Kahari.
Well, he's going to be available, isn't he? I don't know if he'll go.
Will he be
Ottawa.
available for the Hamilton job?
I'm not convinced that one is secure going into next season as well. But hey, that's going to be a guy to watch.
We always hope that there's just so much the coaching carousel and the quarterback carousel, and then we do a show every 2 weeks, and it's like, I don't know.
Okay, so there's always been this feeling, I think, among Ottawa fans that they don't like to make changes mid-season and they'll deal with it after the season. And do you think this is part of the struggles with an 18-game season? If it's like a 14-game season and you suck and you're done, it's like, but that extra 4 weeks of losing, it's a month of losing in football. It's like, we can't keep going like this.
To quote Michael Scott, I went 28 years without having sex. I can go for another 28. I'm not gonna why make a change just for the sake of making a change?
Yeah.
I don't think that's what this is. It doesn't get you anywhere, but it gives you a look at Bob Dice.
Yeah.
As a head coach, you're not gonna. It's not gonna get you in the playoffs. It's not gonna turn this franchise around. But if Bob Dice is a legit candidate for that job next year, here's his audition.
Yeah, and we'll see. I know Mark Killam was a guy that was interviewed plenty of times last offseason. I'm sure he's going to get a few interviews, and we'll see what happens there. I mean, as for the BC Lions, Vernon Adams Jr., 38 yards rushing, 305 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and with Brian Burnham on the injured list with the fractured wrist, Keon Hatcher steps into that spot. He has a touchdown, 3 catches, 47 yards. Dominic Rhymes has 103 yards, and Lucky Whitehead, 3 catches, 87 yards, but does get rolled up on, ends up coming back into the game. That will be a situation to watch. I thought that it would be big to get Lucky rolling in this one for the Lions offense. He did have a 54-yard play, but that ankle that they retaped, that's going to be a situation to watch probably the rest of the season. But as they were talking on the broadcast, sometimes the nasty plays don't turn out to be as serious, and that's what we're hoping for.
It's those inconspicuous ones that seem to always be how many non-contact injuries have we seen that have just derailed guys exactly in preseason or in training camp, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you get rolled up. If it's a high, there's just so many things that could be getting rolled up on. But the nice part is they know they don't have the crossover. They're playing for home field.
They are.
The problem is Calgary's going to keep winning too, because Calgary's got a pretty easy schedule to close out the year.
Those two
guaranteed win night in McMahon.
BC's like, come on, we got Winnipeg twice, and Calgary has Saskatchewan twice. Who made this schedule?
What is garbage?
There was a pretty balanced defense from BC. Everybody was really contributing. Woody Barron was in there. 2 sacks for David Menard, and the leading tackler was Jordan Williams, who had 6 tackles, including 2 on special teams. So everybody was getting a hand in on the action there, including a interception from Gary Peters. And then, man, I mean, you look at Ottawa's offense, I think 5 targets for Jalen Acklin, probably not acceptable for the way Ottawa's offense was run. No. Though Nick Arbuckle had 363 yards of offense, they just couldn't. Again, just missed opportunities, kind of like Saskatchewan.
Yeah, I mean, spread the ball out lots. Had 8 different pass catchers, but I mean, nobody really took the game over for Ottawa.
No.
Like, you have a guy like Jalen Acklin who we've seen make big plays and be a number one for this team. Darvin Adams, like, kind of quietly having an okay year.
Fighting it a little bit, dropped a few balls.
Yeah, drops these a little bit, but I mean, still targeted 5 times.
Yeah.
Like, in what world with those two on your roster is Justin Hardy your leading receiver that night? Like, I don't want to blame that. I don't want to say it's Nick Arbuckle. I don't want to say it's like it's kind of just it's a sum of all the errors or whatever you want to call it. But when you have those guys in your receiving core, you would expect one of them to be your number one every night.
It's that drive chart again, and when you just they don't have a touch. They don't have a touchdown until the fourth quarter. It goes punt, field goal, missed field goal, punt, field goal.
But I mean,
field
nothing like your first 3 trips into the red zone resulting in 9 points.
Yeah, exactly, and that has been a problem in Ottawa.
That's a Jason Moss coach team.
It's been an issue.
Edmonton knows what's up.
There for a long time, and now they've got a new coach, and we'll see what that does to the offense. You just need to finish drives. It sounds simple. It sounds cliche, but that's as simple as it is.
The teams that score touchdowns beat the teams that score field goals.
Yeah. How about Tavon Smith, though? The old Brazilian Ty most outstanding Canadian prediction from 2021.
I hate you.
Hey, I had high hopes for him too, but he's in the last couple games for Ottawa, and here he gets 7 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. I don't think anybody had him.
Those are MOC numbers.
They are. I don't know if anybody had him on their fantasy roster, but Tavon Smith, maybe he's going to be a contributor on that offense in 2023.
You look at all the successful teams, whether or not it's at skill positions or on the offensive line or, safety like Taylor Loeffler, you have not even a smile. I'm able to work in a Taylor Loeffler reference. I don't even get a smile from you.
It's been a while since I've heard that name, so that's good to hear that.
Canadians need to contribute in whatever position they're playing. The teams that win Grey Cups have Canadians that contribute, whether it's at receiver, O-line, anything. Yeah, you got to pay them a little more.
Yeah.
But if they're contributing on top of, like, they don't even have to be your number one, but if they're contributing on top of what your other players of that position are doing or in that O-line group are doing, just makes your team that much deeper and that much better. So if he can continue this, I mean, we know they're not going anywhere. We know it's kind of a lost season for Ottawa, but they can build on it and ramp up into next year.
James Butler, it was a nice game for him. 16 carries, 89 yards. He gets the receiving touchdown, 4 touches there, and another 30 yards. So that was good for the Lions. I know they want to get him going in that offense, but things starting to move along. Now you want to see consistency because a couple games ago, it did seem like the Lions, they did beat Calgary and things were turning around. And then that game against Calgary last week, it seems like beating Calgary just kind of angered them a little bit.
And when you do that, like regular season, like beating Calgary in the regular season, now it's kind of Winnipeg.
Yeah.
But beating Calgary, in the last 10 years in the regular season, that was a huge thing for any team that could do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's, Arthur Fonzarelli jumping the shark for BC this season. I mean, but to beat them and then go and get absolutely rolled, like they weren't in that game.
Yeah.
And then to come back like this, yes, it's against Ottawa. Ottawa has to travel across country. It's the late game on the Friday. I get all that, but a rebound game after that game against Calgary. Yes, like a little bit of an inconsistent stretch, but I mean, I feel like the offense have been consistent. Like, they're still trying to establish the run. They're still trying to spread the ball out to the receivers. Dom Rhymes, Lucky Whitehead, Burnham when he's healthy. Like, everybody is getting looks. and eventually that's just going to keep paying off.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if they can establish run with James Butler, and he's putting up 89 yards, averaging just over 5.5 yards a carry, setting you up for success, second, 4-3.
Yeah, at times this season, it seems like they've kind of forgot about him or not really involved him much in the offense. And going forward,
I wonder if a little bit of that maybe is spelling him out.
It could be. It could be.
Managing workloads.
BC goes to Toronto Thanksgiving weekend. And then they've got the home and home with Winnipeg.
Poor bastards.
Or no, it's not a home and home. They've got Winnipeg. They've got Edmonton. And then they've got Winnipeg again.
But
so
depending on what Calgary does, Winnipeg is going to be in rest mode at some point.
Yeah. Well, not for the first game anyway, because they want to definitely lock up that first place.
But they might do their rest like they did last year, where it was kind of split half and half.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they didn't rest everybody in those last 2 weeks. They rested half the guys in that second last game and half the guys in their 18th kind of thing. And it still leaves some integrity in the lineup. You still get to look at guys. Why not? Why not try to win the games?
Mm-hmm. Montreal goes to Edmonton and the dreaded Commonwealth Stadium.
This was free money. This was free money for anybody. It was never in doubt.
Montreal beats Edmonton 25-18. Danny Machocha said the team needs to get better at finishing, and that's what they did here. The Edmonton Elks did not score a point in the second half. They had an 18-17 lead going in to the second half, and what happened was Montreal scoring that 8 points in the fourth quarter and winning the game. But it's not to say that Edmonton didn't have the opportunities. They had the ball for almost 5 minutes longer than the Alouettes. They had 2 interceptions in Montreal's end. There was that turnover on downs. I thought it was really the first interception in Montreal's end. I thought it was some real Saskatchewan play calling there. When Cornelius throws.
When we started on play calling, I just spent, there's a legit 12 hours of football on today, and I'm just so done with coaches and their shitty play calling.
Throwing that interception, getting it returned 110 yards for a touchdown. That was the winning score. So I thought they should have been running it like Kevin Brown. I mean, overall, he had himself a pretty good game. 5.4 yards a carry, 14 for 75. And then the next time they're down at the goal line, well, they hand it off to Kevin Brown 3 times and they get stuffed. Armando Sewell up the middle, and the D-line and the front of the Als handled Edmonton and just stuffed them on the goal line. And Trevor Harris did what he needed to do. It seemed like, especially in the first half, Serezna and the boys were kind of all over him. But Harris gets sacked 4 times. He loses a fumble, but the Elks offense just wasn't able to capitalize. But I think where it all changed was in the second quarter. The big 33-yard play to Kenny Lawler falls on the shoulder. The defender basically falls on top of him. He runs off the field, and we don't see him the rest of the way. And that kind of seemed like it affected the Elks offense the rest of the game. His first game back from an ankle injury leaves with, it looks like, a shoulder injury.
So deflating. Not just for the offense, but for the team.
Yeah.
It changes your play calling. It changes the plays you want to call. When you have a guy like him in your lineup, you feel like you can go to him in any situation, at any time, any coverage, anything like that. It kind of just changes the mindset, especially of your quarterback and of your OC. And when he goes down, it's like a lost puppy dog for 15 minutes, not knowing what to do anymore. Mm-hmm. It's like a security blanket.
I know the knock on Cornelius has been the ill-timed interceptions. I think they were both tipped, but I mean, still 16 to 28, 273 yards and 2 interceptions. And then when you got Geno Lewis on the other end, that touchdown, I don't know if he could have been covered any better. And he catches it with one hand like it was nothing.
Yeah. Just getting beat. Like, right?
Yeah.
Like, what is he supposed to do there?
All right. There you go.
Yeah.
One hand, just like nothing. Just like spreading butter on toast. Like, wow. Like, Trevor Harris, 14 of 17, 180 and a touchdown. If that's not a Matt Nichols game.
I was like, are you sure it wasn't Matt Nichols quarterbacking?
Like, if it's not a Matt Nichols managed game, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I looked at that stat line, I'm like, and you lost.
Yeah.
Like, you protected the football and you look at the turnovers, like, oh, you didn't protect the football. You got sacked 4 times. Like, they were also more disciplined than Montreal. So I guess it doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
discipline. You know who's not happy? Dave Campbell. That was a fun broadcast to listen to.
Where was he the angriest? The Owls, by the way, 11
It might
penalties.
have been the Trevor Harris 2-point convert.
Again, I'm like, is that Kerry Joseph? Like, what am I watching?
The words embarrassing, I believe, were used. Like, it was. I mean, Morley did a great job. You know, he lit that bottle rocket and went all game, and he didn't. Like, you know, he was even keel, right? That's what he does. Never gets too high, never gets too low. And Dave was just not having it in that second half. And it was great.
By the way, I ran into Morley at Monday Night Raw and
of course you did.
Had a chat with him before that. So that was awesome. The Als, 11 penalties, 106 yards, and the Elks, 7 for 75. So, I mean, the Elks had all the opportunities in the world. Just when you're on the other team's 10, throwing an interception, probably not the best thing.
Yeah, ask Kurt Warner.
Walter Fletcher, 12 carries, 67 yards. The former Elk, he had 3 catches for 29 yards. But Dominic Davis getting a rushing touchdown. I did consider starting Dom Davis, but I did make the right choice at quarterback. My receivers, however, sucked on my fantasy lineup. The Owls.
One of my receivers was an absolute liability all day.
There you go. The Montreal Alouettes now 500 on the season, one game behind the Toronto Argonauts, 8-6, the 7-7 Montreal Alouettes, and here we go. Montreal's got Ottawa twice, and then they have Toronto twice. This looks like
a 10-8 year. And a chance to host that East Final.
Exactly.
That's crazy. Absolute nuts. The way that team season started with, you know, Vernon Adams and him getting pulled, and Trevor Harris coming in, and all that rigmarole. And they trade Vernon Adams. There's the picture of Quee and Gary Stern with the notepad. Like, just it's mind-boggling.
The Owls 5-1 in their last 6, and William Stanback is set to return Thanksgiving weekend against Ottawa.
They might go 4-0 down the year. Austin Matthews can win all the Hart trophies he wants, and nobody cares.
It's not. They're not going out and blowing teams. And Machocha said they need to blow out teams. That wasn't even that was an oral typo, but I'm just gonna let this go. But Stanback set. I'm blushing. Yeah, I can see that. Stanback set to return for the Alouettes coming up here. That's just another addition to the Alouettes offense. I think as long as Harris protects the ball, that seems about all that they need. And they need to get rid of the penalties. I think there's no denying that.
That'll kill you.
But It's tough to explain that they just keep finding ways to win. 5 of their last 6 for the Als.
And the one saving grace too is the division they're in.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not, like, you can only play the teams that are in front of you. The teams in your division, you don't have any control over that. So they did, that is, and ruined everybody's pickup.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As for Edmonton, again, another opportunity to catch Saskatchewan a little bit. And
I don't even think that matters anymore. They just want to win a game at home. I don't think they care.
Yeah. And they've got 2 more chances. One's against Toronto, one's against BC. I mean, it's doable
against Toronto.
But I don't think I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen.
Bet 365 was giving away money on Saturday when Montreal was a dog.
And it's just
at like plus 130. I'm like, what is happening?
They're not mathematically out of it, but Saskatchewan has the tiebreaker with them. Yeah.
Edmonton couldn't lose, I thought. I thought if they lost, they were out. Oh, no, because Saskatchewan lost. Saskatchewan won and Edmonton lost. Then they were eliminated. But yeah, so that was never a threat this week either.
But now that Saskatchewan does have the season series with Edmonton, it's a tall order.
Oh, yeah.
But
you got to win out.
Yeah, and Saskatchewan's going to lose out, which is certainly possible.
Which is going to happen.
Calgary beating the Toronto Argonauts 29-2. It was never really a game here, and it's not like
it was 14-2 at one point.
Well, yeah, actually, the first score was by Toronto on a punt single in the second quarter, and
God, I love this league.
And then the next was a missed field goal from Boris Beatty. So the Toronto offense,
stop me if you've heard that one before,
did nothing. But
literally,
it's not like the Stamps offense stomped Toronto as well. And it's been said,
really, you said stomped there.
Stamped?
Yeah, like come on.
Man, I was at a 4-year-old's birthday party earlier.
That sounds. How drunk did you get? Because that's all I would want to do at a 4-year-old.
But that's probably why I'm so exhausted.
What's the point of going to a 4-year-old's birthday party?
But it's not like the Calgary offense dominated Toronto, and that's because Toronto does have a solid defense. 2 interceptions thrown by Jake Mayer. Enoch Mwamba, he was playing all over the place. He had both of those interceptions, but big losses for the Toronto defense in Shane Ray and Winton McManus that could, hopefully they're not serious, that could affect the Argonauts going down the stretch here. But both of these teams, very familiar with each other. Both offenses basicly the same. So they know how to play defense. They know how to play defense against each other. Yeah. And that's, I think, probably why the offenses really struggled in this game.
Yeah, I mean, and those 2 losses for Toronto are nothing to dismiss. Those are big losses for that team.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so much crossover between these 2 teams. You know, players going mainly from Calgary to Toronto. Like we've been calling Toronto, Calgary East.
Yeah.
Like they're so familiar with not even just the on field, but the organizations and how they run stuff and how, you know, when you have that same coaching staff, that consistency in the front office. Yes, we talk about how that breeds success, but how much really changes year to year when it comes to philosophy and play calling and schemes and all that stuff.
And really, the Calgary D line was all over Toronto,
which is not news.
Right. They only did have 2 sacks, but a lot of times it was 3-man rushes and really having McLeod Bethel-Thompson under pressure, and he was just not in sync with his receivers. And sometimes the receivers were to blame for a lot of the struggles as well. A lot of the times it was on him as well. Just the offense was not in sync at all. Look at that. I don't know if there's a in sync song you want to throw in there.
I'll do it at the end when I'm signing off.
But to me, it seems like the Calgary D line, they might be one of the most underrated units in the league, but they're getting better as this season goes on. Sean Lemon, double-digit sacks again. Isaac Adeyemi Berglund has a sack here.
Like, if Sean Lemon's in Ottawa, he's traded. Right? If he's in Edmonton, he's traded.
Probably. Well,
but because he's on
he wasn't a part of the culture in Edmonton, I think.
Yeah, he must hate winning culture.
Yeah.
But because he's on a team like Calgary that's got a chance to make a run, and you can just worry about playing like, this is what we've been saying. Like, this guy can be an absolute force. And just the fact that he's jumped around so much is crazy to me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The receiving numbers for Calgary, Reggie Bagleton was the leading receiver, 4 catches, 43 yards, and a touchdown.
In my lineup.
Nice. Richie Sindani was number 2. He had 41 yards. Yeah. Luther Hakunavanu had 5 targets, only connected on 2 of them for 36 yards. It was enough for me to win my fantasy matchup, which we will get to. But this game was all about Kadeem Carey, 14 carries, 92 yards, 6.6 yards a carry. That's right about his average for the season.
Which is nuts.
You'd think a guy that's getting that many yards a carry, they'd be giving him the ball 25 yards a game. I know he's been dealing with some nagging injuries here and there, but as the weather gets colder, I think they're going to want him to be as healthy as he can be, and we're going to see healthy doses of 35 going forward.
And they have Peyton Logan to spell him off. I think that's been huge too.
Well, they got Dedrick Mills. They got 3 starting caliber running backs. Too much.
You have some liver and fava beans at that birthday party, or what?
I was gonna do an impression. Yeah, I'll let you do it.
Hello, Curtis. He never says that though. Everybody does.
I know, that's one of those crazy. It's not Luke, I am your father. No. See, the more you know. No,
it's just a false memory.
Yeah, there you go. How did that get into your head? Davaris Daniels, 5 catches, 51 yards. Cam Phillips returns to the lineup, 3 for 43. Curly Gittins had 36 yards. So the offense was very limited for the Argos. AJ Ouellette did have 7 yards a carry, 9 for 66, but that's
only
the
9 yards, only 9 carries.
That's the problem. So McLeod Bethel Thompson, 19 of 38, 194 yards and 2 interceptions. I thought that
that's also a Matt Nichols game.
Yeah, that's true. I thought that this was an opportunity that Toronto had to show that they're there to compete, not only to deserve that first place in the East Division, but compete with the top teams going into the playoffs. I know we're about a month away, but Toronto's defense, again, championship caliber. I used to say that about Saskatchewan's defense. Look where that happened. But I think Toronto wanted to prove that they could compete with the top teams in the CFL, and it didn't happen here. It just didn't happen here, bottom line.
It seems every year, start of the year, we start feeling sorry for McLeod Bethel Thompson. He's just been the whipping boy for Toronto. Like, gets cut, gets re-signed, cut, re-signed. But here we are. They're a game up. They can't compete against the West. Like, at some point, you gotta stop feeling sorry for this guy and just be like, they need to move on. I don't like. He's not beating the teams he needs to beat. They're not going to win a Grey Cup with him. God, don't isolate that. Like freezing cold takes, here we come.
I do think that anything short of a Grey Cup berth for the Argos this year is probably disappointing.
Yeah.
The veteran talent they have on that team, and I know that Andrew Harris isn't playing anymore because of the injury there, but the veterans they have in the receiving core, they've got veterans on defense, McManus, Mwamba, Davis. Hey, that secondary is making teams pay lately too. So I think, again, Thanksgiving weekend, the BC Lions in Toronto, the former Brayley Bowl. They need to have a good game against VA, an opponent that they're quite familiar with from his time in Montreal.
Well, and, Montreal's got to play Thanksgiving Monday. That's tradition.
Yeah.
So you let BC come in and run your show, and all of a sudden you're watching that game on Monday being like, we might be losing grip on that. Well, they're down to one game, but we might lose this lead, and then we're fighting for our lives because, do you really want to go on the road for that East Final? Especially after how long you've had first place, it just feels like a complete collapse. And yeah, you're still in the playoffs, but it's just deflating.
How about the Thanksgiving Monday and then the Friday matchup between the Als and the RedBlacks? I know this used to happen between the Edmonton and Calgary Labor Day and rematch games, but Monday and Friday, that is tough. That is brutal for those two teams. So that second game probably going to be a tough one. I don't know why the Hamilton Calgary game.
Hope nobody gets a back injury on
Friday
Monday. Too. And then plays on Friday.
Are you talking about me?
No. How about Tua?
The back injury. Yeah.
I've had back injuries. I didn't walk like that. I only walk like that after. I didn't hit my head. Something went in my head.
The CFL Podcast Network Fantasy League, you and I squeak into the playoffs in completely different fashions.
All you need to do is make it, right?
That's it. We're in. That's it.
Yeah. We're at the dance. We're at the bar. Nobody's going to ask us to dance, but we're there, man.
I beat Superfan Mike by 0.6 to clinch a playoff spot.
Stop the count.
Here's what happens. It was about 2 minutes left in the game, and I'm like, okay, 81, Luther Hukunavanu, hit him one more time. One catch for 6 yards, put me up by 0.6. You get the highest score of the week. Beat Zach of Bonfire Sports. We're both into the playoffs.
I tweet out the best GIF response, and nobody replies to it.
Who are the fantasy leaders this week?
Oh, you're making me do work now.
Yeah, I had Zach Collaros, that 4-touchdown game. Really,
that's your number one. Yep.
Okay, nice. That really saved my lineup. Although
Vernon Adams Jr. was second at 24. He was
my starter. Was $5,900. So
yeah, that was nice. Cody was your top 3.
Wow.
What? 19.9. But then you look who's below him. Nick Arbuckle, Taylor Cornelius, Trevor Harris, who played like garbage, Vernon Adams Jr. Oh, no, sorry. Cody B. Oh, no, yeah, Vernon Adams Jr. is up there. I don't know why I have him on here twice. But, nobody really had that runaway week. Claros and Vernon Adams both over 20. And, that Claros game, that fourth quarter, even just that second half, just won him the week, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to running backs, James Butler, Kadeem Carey, Devontae Williams was third at 13.4. Again, if you didn't have James Butler, you could have picked any two of the running backs that were.
So what did Butler have?
Middle. Butler at 21.9.
Okay. So
in my lineup,
I had Oliveira, who had a 100-yard game. But
10.1 didn't find the end zone. Yeah,
and Kevin Brown 12.6. 75 yards and the 2 catches.
Also in my lineup.
Yeah. So what was receivers looking like? Because my receivers had a combined 17.7 points. That's 2 receivers in a flex, by the way.
That's embarrassing. Top 2, Dembski and Schoen. Sorry, I'm calling him Shane. I don't care anymore. 27.4 and 22.5. Tavon Smith, 20.7. And Swerve, 18.7. And Dylan Mitchell, 15.8.
Who had Tavon Smith?
That doesn't seem right. That can't be right, because where's my Calgary guys?
I would like to. Well, Reggie Bagleton only had about 14, so
14.3. Yeah. Oh, so, there he is. Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, I had Bagleton. I had Dalton Shane. I had Kevin Brown, James Butler, Vernon Adams Jr., Jalen Philpott, who got me 3.6. Thanks. Like, you're basically my Kevin Biggio, and I hate you. And the Bombers defense put up 10.
Yeah, I was happy to have them. They were actually forcing turnovers, 2 interceptions, a recovered fumble, and they only allowed 13 points. This episode of 2 and Out is brought to you by Taproot Publishing. Taproot Spotlight, it's a service that helps businesses and organizations pay attention to the people they serve. Taproot tells you the news about the people and companies that are important to you, and you can use that information internally to keep everyone on the same page, or share it with the world in your newsletter, on your website, and on your social media channels. Paying attention pays dividends. Find out more at taprootpublishing.ca/spotlight. It's taprootpublishing.ca/spotlight. There you go for week 17 in the CFL. Are you going to be able to be on for 2 consecutive shows? Yes, Ty going 4-0 in Pick'em. Did you gain any ground in the official or overall standings?
Technically, yes, because I had such a bad week last week that dropped into like the 40s, so I'm back up to 22nd.
22nd in the country. Hey, you might win a free trip to the Grey Cup. What would you do with it?
Sell it.
All right, we'll be back to get you ready for week 18.
I will. You know what, Travis? Just for you, I'll only golf 9 holes on Wednesday afternoon, so we can record before you go to work.
Wow!
If that doesn't make you cry, I don't know what will.
If that's not a Thanksgiving moment, I don't know what
Thanksgiving
is.
Miracle.
You can rate, review.
It's like planes, trains, and automobiles. I was trying to think of a Thanksgiving movie.
Subscribe to 2 and Out on your favorite podcatcher. Hey, hit YouTube, leave a comment, ring the bell, hit subscribe. Hey, the subscriptions have been growing in a little while. And who
you know what else is growing?
That mustache. Who else doesn't want to see it?
Man, like Pete Walker's got to be jealous.
We'll talk to you on Thursday to get you set for week 18.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.